Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast, coming to you live on a Tuesday evening, a trade deadline evening, where the Chargers got two trades in at the very end. Obviously, one of them was like not even tweeted about. So it was one of those days. Certainly one of the crazier overall trade deadlines that I can remember in the NFL. I mean, usually these trades are like washed up receivers, you know, your Amari Cooper types and stuff like that. This year we get Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. The Jets decide to take a grenade to their team. I'm sure Arjun is pretty happy about a lot of that stuff going on over there in New York. Mock drafts will be a lot of fun for them. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about Joe Alt and his injury, Omarion Hampton and his injury. A Chargers player retired today, so it was certainly a newsworthy day in Los Angeles. And joining me, as always, to break everything down is my good friend Tyler. Tyler, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Doing well. You know, we actually got some action at the trade deadline. The Chargers, I honestly would have bet $2 million on them basically doing nothing. The fact that there's two moves to talk about, plus the retirement, like you said, is something. For us as content creators, it's nice. Hopefully these things help the team.
Yeah. What did your poll end up at? Because early this morning you tweeted a poll.
It was like 70% no. 70% of the fans said no, they're not
That's
trading
about
for
right.
anybody, which I don't blame anybody.
Yeah, and a few people messaged me at like 9 a.m. like, hey, like, are the Chargers going to do anything? And, you know, I had heard, you know, over the weekend that they were calling and stuff like that. But I was like, maybe just like after the Joel stuff, maybe you just kind of like let things be and see what you got. But they ended up making a couple moves today. So we'll break down all of that. As always, before we begin, have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. This episode and every episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season over on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Obviously, we've had a lot of fun dealing with things. Tyler emotionally hedges quite often over there on Prize Picks, and it's worked out. I had quite a heater from the World Series as well, if I'm not mistaken. So Prize Picks has been a lot of fun. We have really enjoyed our partnership with them. And I've said this repeatedly, but one of my favorite things about Prize Picks is they consistently make changes to better the app. And right now they are debuting features where you can stack the same player in multiple statistics in your same lineup. So if you're just a huge Justin Herbert fan, if you're doing the NBA stuff and you're all in on Luka Doncic, Prize Picks has you covered in multiple categories there where you can stack the same player in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in one simple clip, whether it is a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab over on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is now able to be available in over 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So the best way to go do that is download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that is code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Okay, we are unfortunately going to start with the Joe Alt news. Obviously, re-injured his ankle on Sunday. You know, there was a really tough situation for the Chargers where, you know, Trey Pipkins is blocking Sebastian Joseph Day, and Sebastian Joseph Day loses his feet and kind of jumps right into Joe Alt's ankle. Unfortunately, just like, you know, there were a lot of people blaming Sebastian Joseph Day. It's kind of just a freak accident, and Pipkins was blocking him, so it's not like it was an intentional dive into his knees, I don't think. So Joe Alt's season is officially over. His ankle injury, re-aggravated, is now requiring surgery. Chargers get 4 games out of the combination of Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater after all the positivity from the offseason and everything like that, and all of the different, you know, jumping up and down celebrations between Justin Herbert and Joe Alt. And this is where we're at. It's just really, really frustrating, Tyler, that you got such a small glimpse of what things could be like with Joe Alt. You didn't even get to see Rashawn Slater out there. And now we're going to head into next season with both of them coming off major injuries and major surgeries.
It's a huge bummer. I don't know any other way to put this. Somebody on Twitter said I should be less pessimistic. I don't know what to tell you when Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater are out for the season. That sucks. And frankly, you felt like, and we felt like, okay, hey, sort of survived the Vikings game. Derwin James got hurt, but he was able to play this past game. So, okay, I think we're on the mend. Here we go. And then you're what? I think, well, Alex and I had discussed Joe Alt as like the runner-up for MVP on this team based on how he plays on the field and how it looks like when he's not on the field. And that you've lost 2 of your 3 best players for the season in Rashawn Slater before the season even starts, and now Joe Alt. It's going to be insurmountable. I don't know when the Chargers season ends, but it's not going to result in a Super Bowl win. Like, I wasn't expecting that anyway. And that's certainly not happening now with Slater and Alt and the variety of other injuries they have. This caps their offense. This gets Herbert hit more. This makes their run game worse. This makes things, well, you have to go get a player, obviously, and we'll talk about him. This is practically a season killer, not necessarily on its own, but in combination with everything else. This is just going to be impossible for them to overcome. Doesn't mean they still can't make the playoffs. They have 6 wins. They get to 10. They could make the playoffs. But what they do in the postseason, having to travel to, I don't know, let's say it ends up being Buffalo. Hello, healthy Joey Bosa. You know, that situation. It's just kills their season. You feel like there was some hope. Unless this run game, for some reason, which is going to be without Hampton for a very long time now, or the special teams group or the defense suddenly become something generational, you can tell the season is going to be over. You just don't know when it is. It's just when it's going to happen, not if.
Yeah, we were obviously very, I guess, pessimistic about the win on Sunday. It was not a super positive show, although we did hit some of the positive takeaways. And in a vacuum, we went back and watched the tape yesterday, and I don't know how you feel about things, but I actually felt like pretty good about what I saw on tape, and the numbers were actually pretty good. The Chargers offense was, I think, 4th in success rate on the week for week 9. So things were not as bad as it seemed, but at the end of the day, like, losing Joe Alt is just, it's such a Debbie Downer on what that game looked like and what the rest of the season can feel like. On the season, obviously, the only 4 games, right? So it's a very small sample size. But in those 4 games where you're talking about the first 3 weeks in the Vikings game, the Chargers offense was like 6th in EPA per play. They were like 8th in success rate. And that's without Rashawn Slater. It's dealing with some other injuries. Obviously, Mekhi Becton was in and out a couple of those games. Bradley Bozeman has been bad in all of those games, etc. So even with just Joe Alt on this Chargers offensive line, the first 3 games, we did not have the Ronnie Gadsden experience. So you have just that small sample size of a top 10 offense, and just like the kind of places that this offense could go with Joe Alt. Like, not that I never thought that they were going to win the Super Bowl, but I still felt like, hey man, if Joe Alt is healthy, Justin Herbert is healthy, you have these receivers, that should be enough to win you a playoff game. And maybe in the divisional round, you're almost winning. Maybe you lose by 3 or 4, whatever. But now, without Joe Alt out there, the Chargers have been more of like the 22nd, 23rd kind of offensive, output in terms of EPA per play, success rate, things like that. So I do agree with your and Alex's take, where this is probably your second most valuable player on the team this season. The defense has been a little bit more stable, so you maybe argue about Derwin James and stuff like that. But without Joe Alt out there, it's so difficult to be like, yeah, next man up. And, Jim Harbaugh's talking about like, yeah, we're going to find out who we are. And everybody's going to rise their level of play and everything like that. And it's just like, well, at some point at certain positions, you just can't really overcome losing an elite guy. And left tackle, quarterback, those are the 2 most important positions on the team. And so now you're going from Joe Alt to whoever they play at left tackle is going to be a below average left tackle, whether that's Sawyer or Pipkins or Penning or Deculus. We've seen the Deculus experience so far. So it just sucks, man. It's going to severely limit your offense, and you're going to create a team where everybody else is going to have to raise their play, but are they really capable of raising that play is kind of the question here. So it just sucks. It's really frustrating. We got little glimpses of what this Chargers offense could look like, and now it's just kind of Justin Herbert hero ball all over again.
And unfortunately, they have, neither the rest of the line nor the elite, receiving talent or elite running back talent to make this work. And they don't have the coordinator to make this work. Not that they weren't successful against the Titans, but that's the Titans. Here comes the Steelers.
It's a little bit different.
Slightly different. Herbert will do Herbert things, and there are still players to make things work. But whatever the ranking for this offense, could have been by the end of the season. Let's say they finish 10th, right? Now you're feeling 18th after this. I mean, I don't know where this offense is going to go with the worst part of their schedule in terms of defenses. I feel like kind of coming up. Not that the beginning of the season wasn't difficult. It was, but they still have to play those guys again. Chiefs, Broncos, and Raiders, they got to play again. So I don't know. It's a real bummer. I don't know how else to feel better about this. They will be competitive. They will try their hardest. I hope they win enough games to get into the postseason. I hope they go win a postseason game. I obviously hope they win the Super Bowl. But this just sweeps. I mean, they had one good leg, and they just swept the other one. And now the Chargers are just sitting here like, okay, Herbert, go do hero ball stuff. So now here comes the, increase in turnover worthy plays potentially, because he's just got to make it work somehow. Here comes the unnecessary hits. We are now guaranteeing, regardless of the Penning trade, which does not change a ton, we're headed for the most pressures and hits on a quarterback in NFL history is what we're headed for. We are signed up to watch Herbert be the most hit and pressured quarterback in NFL history in a season. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, so right now the Cleveland Browns have allowed one more pressure than the Chargers, but those two teams are lapping the field in most pressures allowed. So the Chargers are at 128 pressures allowed on the season already, which is not good. That is not very good. I wonder how many they allowed all of last season. All of last season, they allowed 162, everybody. So they're probably going to pass that in the next couple of weeks. So obviously, the Chargers are 6-3. They do have some winnable games on the schedule. The Raiders obviously traded away their best receiver today. So that game is obviously a very winnable game. The Cowboys, despite trading for Quinnen Williams, still are probably one of the worst defenses in the league. You still have, potentially a path to 8, 9, 10 wins, and, anything can happen in those rivalry games against the Chiefs and the Broncos and things like that. But man, I just felt like heading into the weekend, so comfortable about potentially beating the Steelers, so comfortable about beating the Jaguars, about beating the Texans. I know the Texans have a very difficult offense or defense, but you really only probably need 17 points to beat that team. Well, now it's those three games are so much more difficult without Joe Alt out there. And so it just sucks, man. Things become exponentially more difficult without Joe Alt out there. It's going to take, probably a lot more Justin Herbert scrambles. Greg Roman's going to have to raise his level of coaching. The special teams, which has been very, very bad, has got to be less bad. So it just sucks, man. It's really frustrating to see these kind of injuries. And it's not just losing Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, right? Pipkins has been injured. Jamari Sawyer has been injured. Austin Deculus has been injured. Bobby Hart is now currently injured. Even Trevor Penning, who we'll get to in a second here, he started the season with turf toe. He is probably not 100% right now because turf toe is not a fun injury. So it's really, really unfortunate that this specific position has dealt with so many different injuries, and now no Slater, no Alt for the back half of the season.
Yep. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's a bummer. It stinks. They traded for a player who we can talk about him.
Yeah, we can't talk about him. I don't know what some of you want. Like the Chargers lost their second best player. Like, how are we supposed to be positive about this? I don't understand. If you want everything to be positive, the Chargers lost the best left tackle in the league yesterday, guys. Like, I don't understand what you want from us in that regard. Yay, Joe Alt is injured. Fuck off. If you want some positivity, go watch someone else.
Yeah. Yes. I don't. I couldn't get it on Twitter. You know, like, oh, your podcast used to be so even-taked and optimistic, but you've fallen into negativity. I don't know. This dude has season-ending ankle surgery. One of the best players, a potential Mount Rushmore player for the Chargers, who maybe could have helped guide them to a playoff win because he's that good and they can lean on him in the playoffs. I'd hope. He's out, and the Chargers scraped by a really bad Titans team who was trading players the next day. So I don't know. I don't believe the season is over. Steven and I are not saying the season is over. We're just saying this sucks. Joe Alt being out sucks. Rashawn Slater being out sucks. Herbert being pressured to hit this much sucks. Unfortunately, it sucks. I don't know how about some positivity. Like we will find positivity where we can. If we did a film breakdown episode, there are positives.
Dude, you want to be positive? I'm going to talk about Jamari Caldwell for 20 minutes and let's fucking go about Jamari Caldwell. But I'm so tired of it. Like, we still think that they can make the playoffs, but Joe Alt is one of the 5 best offensive linemen in the league, like, full stop, and he's out for the season. I don't understand how you want us to be positive about this. Like, the Chargers are losing one of the best players in the NFL, and their solutions. Woo! Their solutions are Austin Deculus, who was one of the worst tackles in the league. They just traded for Trevor Penning, who was so bad at offensive tackle for the Saints that he was kicked into guard. Their best offensive tackle they have this season, not named Joe Alt, was probably Bobby Hart. Like, yeah, we're going to be a little pessimistic about losing Joe Alt, you guys.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So Trevor Penning, the Chargers decided to trade for Trevor Penning. If you're in the Discord, Steven shared some additional information about some other things that could have been happening that did not materialize, this and that, whatnot. Steven's got all the good info. They gave up a 2027 6th-round pick, which felt like where they were going to head. They were never going to trade for Quinnen Williams or Sauce Gardner and make that kind of thing happen. But if they were looking for anybody, we thought it would be a pick that was not in 2026. Yeah. And they have traded away one pick. I'll talk about the other pick for Jasir Taylor. Give a 2027 6th-round pick. Now everyone's asking, and again, Steven shared info in the Discord, what position is Trevor Penning going to play? Well, he hasn't really stuck at one. So the answer is, I don't know. And it could be wherever they need him. Unfortunately, let's see. Left tackle out for the year, right tackle out for the year. Becton's not playing. This guy's hurt. Bobby Hart's hurt. So it really could be wherever they ended up needing him. And it just depends on the day. It depends on the play. All right. So you have Pipkins there and Sawyer there. And, he's not ready yet because Becton's back in at guard. Great. Becton plays for 10 plays. Hey, look, Trevor Penning's your guard for a day. If you look at the numbers, he's been an extremely disappointing first-round pick. If you know the lore, there's a video of Steven and I and Arjun as well jumping up and down when they picked Zion Johnson. Yes, that was because we were excited for Zion Johnson, but you don't understand that the other half of that was them not taking Trevor Penning. Steven and I couldn't go with the draft narrative that this guy was a first-round talent. I think he had like a 3rd-round grade from Steve and a late 2nd from me. The talent was there, but the issues were very, very glaring and obvious. And this guy has been, his pass blocking efficiency every year has been in the 95s. Not great. He has been 74th, 32nd in the second year, and then 70th in run blocking grade. And he has 26 penalties in under 2,000 snaps. 26 penalties in that number of snaps is really bad. And you can't tell me that this guy is going to get it fixed because it's literally who he was in college. I believe it's 26 called and 5 declines. I think it's 31 total, like, called, including decline penalties. Not great. So there's that aspect of it. The other aspect, I will give credit to Joe Ortiz and everyone for doing anything Instead of watching Herbert go out there and die, they at least got him a tackle, and they'll probably still watch him die. But at least they went and did something to try to like do anything. We've been on like, and it's very obvious now, the reclamation former first round project thing, especially with offensive linemen, is very real for the Chargers. They seem to take that swing and they go for it, whether it is Becton on that contract or Leatherwood last year or now Penning here. Yep. They don't mind taking these swings. I just am curious what the fit is for him here. Where does he play? You had some thoughts. I'll let you share those. I'm glad they did anything. They needed to do something. They could not just stand by and do nothing. I'm glad they did. But this is a player that you and I haven't really liked, but because of the play on the field, and I guess, I don't know, maybe some of the other bullshit too. But not a great prospect that we were a fan of. It has not been a good career for him. The Saints not wanting him tells you kind of where he's at as well. It hasn't been great, but they did something. I'll commend them for that.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like the Chargers needed to be proactive, and they were able to go out and do that. I think we have been used to the previous regime where stuff like the Joe Alt injury happens, and it's like, they're just going to roll with the guys you got. You're going to wait until Bobby Hart gets healthy after the bye week, and you're going to figure it out with him and Trey Pipkins and Jamari Sawyer and Austin Deculus, and you're good. And this regime is not of that mentality, which I think is great for the Chargers over the long haul. After trading Penning and Jasir Taylor, Joe Ortiz has made 9 trades in basically a year and a half. And all of them have been, at least at the time, they're being proactive. They're trying to solve a problem instead of just trying to continue to, bash their heads against the wall and hope for, an Easton Stick to develop, or hope for, AJ Finley to develop or whatever. Like, they're being proactive, and I give them credit for that. Were there other options out there? Not necessarily. You and I spoke at length previously that teams are not trading truly starting caliber offensive linemen do not get traded. Like, there were a lot of people saying, oh, well, why didn't you go get Wyatt Teller, or why don't you go get Braxton Jones has been injured, but he's been somebody that people wanted, why didn't you go get, player X, Y, and Z? And the reality is, like, even teams who are bad need capable offensive linemen. Like, if you're the Browns, you need to evaluate Dylan Gabriel and potentially Shedeur Sanders. How are you going to do that if you're trading all of the starting offensive linemen on your team? If you're the Titans, you need to evaluate Cam Ward and those young receivers. Do you get better by trading Kevin Zeitler? Probably not. So it was always going to be some kind of reclamation project, some kind of backup on a team where they were, maybe you have some good depth and stuff like that. I shared some stuff in the Discord about their other pursuits, and I'm not really going to share that here. I'm going to leave that in the Discord. But what I will share about what I was told today is that the Chargers did a lot of homework on Trevor Penning when he came out of the draft through, when obviously Joe Ortiz was in Baltimore, Chad Alexander was in New York. Both teams actually hosted Trevor Penning on a top 30 visit. They visited him without the combine. There's a lot of information here about Trevor Penning, the player, the person that this team has, even if they haven't been necessarily like fully tied to the New Orleans Saints, is like that kind of stuff. So they feel like they have a bit of an advantage just with their background knowledge of Trevor Penning. And they feel like this is potentially a reclamation project that can work out for them. So the silver lining of like, has he been worth a first round pick? Absolutely not. But if you look at his play on the Saints, he plays left tackle, then he gets switched to right tackle, then he gets switched to guard. He's dealt with some injuries and things like that. So from a Chargers silver lining perspective, they're looking at a player who's bounced around. They've dealt with a ton of different schemes. His first year, the offensive coordinator was, oh my gosh, it was the Sean Payton holdover. I forget who it was at that time. Carmichael. Sure. So they were running kind of like the Sean Payton stuff, very similar to like Joe Lombardi's offense. Then the last 2 years they were running, or last season they were running a lot of the Shanahan stuff with the offensive coordinator in Seattle now. I forget his name. And then this year they're running a lot of the Kellen Moore stuff, which we know is kind of a lot of everything. So from a Chargers perspective, this is a player who has a lot of talent they're familiar with. He's bounced around a ton of positions, a ton of different schemes. They feel like getting him here in LA is going to be a good new start for him. It's going to be a stable situation. They're obviously not going to fire Greg Roman anytime soon. And so they feel like this is a spot where they can kind of take all of his potential concerns and take his, previous poor play and turn this into potentially a future Trey Pipkins replacement. So where is he going to play? I was told that the plan right now is for him to be an offensive tackle. He is going to, prepare at left tackle and right tackle over the next couple of weeks. They're not going to rush him out to start this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers after being traded. I don't know who's going to start, but it's not going to be Trevor Penning this week, and that's the plan. So maybe he starts after the bye, but right now the plan is to kind of get him settled, play tackle, get used to the playbook and things like that. And the Chargers at least feel like, hey, man, maybe we have a young player here who can kind of be a future swing tackle of sorts in the future.
I don't know. I kind of just feel like he'll end up being out there against the Steelers. You are going to get to watch Trevor Penning in person block against the Steelers at some position. I don't know what it'll be, but somebody will get hurt or somebody will not be able to play the game, and Trevor Penning will be out there. I feel like it's headed that direction. Everything you said sounds great. In terms of the team perspective, I understand why they'd go for him, the connections, and not the connections, but the homework that they did. Now, those two teams did pass on him 3 times. Granted, the Jets were picking pretty early. So Gardner and Wilson were, I think, like both top 10 picks. Yeah. Ravens at 14 or whatever for Hamilton, but they did pass on him 3 times. So it's not like he was a beloved prospect that they liked over some other guys, although they did very well with Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Kyle Hamilton with those 3 picks. I can't fault them for making those choices over Penning.
Right.
But it's good they have some homework done there, and I hope he does work out. I guess the tricky thing is my reaction to this would have changed, everybody's would have, if our offensive line coach was Jeff Stoutland. Because you go get Trevor Penning and you're like, great, where's the all-pro vote? Like, where does that go? Where does the Pro Bowl? When's the Pro Bowl voting? Let me know. Yeah. I'll sign up. With Devlin, granted, Bobby Hart was like better than expected, but otherwise it's been a bit of a mess. I don't know if this is suddenly where he's going to go turn things around. They haven't really had a player come over here and then turn things around. Becton has not been as advertised, or at least what we hope for, although there's so many other reasons why. So I hope it works out. Penning being a swing tackle after Pipkins, fine. But forgive me if I'm not. This doesn't really change much for me in the short term or long term of the season. But I hope I'm wrong. Like if Trevor Penning joins the Chargers and becomes just awesome, and for some reason this works for him, where it didn't work with any other coordinator, coach, whatever, awesome. I'm rooting for him to be good. I'm just dubious that happens anytime. Again, there's a video of Steven and I and Arjun just jumping up and down because they also didn't draft Trevor Penning. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, it is the irony of this trade is not lost on me.
Yeah, no kidding.
If nothing else, it's good for the content that Trevor Penning and Zion Johnson are now teammates and potentially playing next to each other very soon.
Yeah.
So I think for me, like, do I think that Trevor Penning is going to be amazing? Probably not. Right now in the short term, I just need him to be better than Austin Deculus. Like that's all I'm asking for him. I don't necessarily need him to light up the world. And even a 95.9 pass blocking efficiency rating would be better than Austin Deculus has been. And granted, the Chargers did not give him like any chip help at all in those 3 games, which still never makes sense to me. I reached out to a couple people, offensive line guys who have been watching Trevor Penning and stuff like that. They actually have been pretty positive about the run blocking for what it's worth. I'm going to go back and watch some games later tonight. So it sounds like he's at least consistent as a run blocker. Pass protection, not so much. I think he's had a tough time, at least in the games that I have watched him play, you know, obviously the Chargers have played the Saints a couple times in the preseason and stuff like that. There's a lot of issues with him protecting the corner and just not getting out to his spot on a proper note. So we'll see what happens there. But I will say in the short term, I do like Thomas Martinez's idea where let's get Trevor Penning out there as a 6th offensive lineman and use his ability as a run blocker to, you know, kind of boost his confidence a little bit. If you're asking me, like, in general, how do the Chargers survive the Joe Alt absence, is like, we got to swallow our pride a little bit, Greg Roman, and we have to have 6 blockers out there at all times in terms of pass protection, whether that is Penning, whether that is Tucker Fisk, or whether it is, you know, Scott Matlock. You got to get extra blockers out there as much as you possibly can. And so I was looking at previously, like, the combination of Fisk and Matlock have averaged about, I think it's like 9 pass blocking snaps a game. That number's got to be like 20 to 25. And let's get, you know, as many blockers out there as we can. You know, they say that they're aware that Justin Herbert can't keep taking this many hits. I need you to show me. I need you to be able to alter your game plans. You don't need to get 5 out on every single route. And let's make some adjustments here. And maybe Trevor Penning can give you, you know, 10 snaps as kind of like an extra inline tight end, and, you know, you kind of work with it from there. But I do like this idea. Hey, man, like, let's get him out there. Let's use the run blocking. And let's kind of get things going a little bit from a confidence standpoint that way.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. This is a great week to try that out. Please don't go 4 wide and try to just throw it against the Steelers. They have some secondary issues that they're trying to work through. It's not like they're an elite secondary group.
Jalen Ramsey's like playing free safety now full time. So we'll talk about that on Thursday, obviously.
Yes. Joey Porter Jr. averages like 2 penalties a game, which great. So much for my prayers there. But well, so that works just fine for me. If that's how you get him acclimated in the first week with the team, fine.
Maxi Diaz says new offense just dropped power surge 25 times a game at 2 yards a pop.
That's, you know, not a bad idea. Go for it. Again, you're playing the Steelers this week, so I don't know how good the power surge is going to be, but keep it going. Once you get to the 10-yard line, don't pass. Just run it. Yeah,
I think they have to make some adjustments to their game plan overall. Like this past week, you know, it was the offense performed well, but the plan was just like it felt like they went into that game thinking that they were going to win, and like they didn't feel like they needed to do extra protection stuff, and they're just like, hey, we're just gonna run Kamani Vidal and Jarrett Patterson, you know, 17 times down the middle. And I'm like, this is not a good game plan to watch, which is really frustrating because I thought their game plan against the Vikings was really, really good. So, you know, hopefully, again, there are some adjustments that can be made over the next few weeks.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Any other thoughts on the Trevor Penning trade before we move on?
Godspeed and good luck.
Good luck, Trevor Penning. It would be hilarious though if he does like pan out. Like, just so funny for Priors.
Yeah, as long as I get Zion to pan out in the end.
Yeah. All right. Our audio audience is going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back after this. All right, so the Chargers did make another trade today. It was not tweeted out except for by the team. So Jasir Taylor gets sent away from the Los Angeles Chargers to the New York Jets, which is, again, just funny that the Jets also now have JT Woods and Jasir Taylor. So Arjun's having a great time there. The Chargers get a 2028 conditional 7th. So not even like 2027, man. This to me, like, they wanted him off the team. Like, this is what this is saying to me. We do not know what the conditions are. I assume it's probably only like he's on the Jets after the 2026 season begins. So the Chargers might not even see this pick. Right. Basically is what I'm saying. In a very similar fashion where the Texans might not see the pick that the Chargers send them for Austin Deculus. That's kind of where we're at there. What are your thoughts here as the Chargers basically just tell Jasir Taylor to kick rocks?
Why? We'll get to the next slide, but why?
Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, we joke, right? So, this player for a bag of chips. I mean, I think the bag of chips is worth more than the 2028 conditional seventh.
Yeah.
Is this the latest pick that has been traded by a team? Is this the most future pick? I don't know how to look that up, but it feels
Bill Barnwell had the idea of the Chargers trading a 2028 7th round pick for Evan Neal, and I was like, 2028. I don't even know if you could actually do that. And then
Isn't
the Chargers
isn't an asteroid supposed to hit us in a year? Like, will they even be able to pick with this selection?
And it's just like, we're all gonna die someday anyway. And
yeah, right.
2028, hell yeah, sign me up.
Some volcano's gonna erupt, like some super volcano's gonna kill us all. Why is my big question here? Because we'll get to the special teams aspect of it, but Harbaugh comes out and he's like, yeah, we got to do this and that and fix special teams and all that good stuff, and we're gonna find ourselves and we'll be great and better and all that. I just, the hits keep coming for Ficken's group. Yeah. And we can come back to, I do want to just bring this up. No one can read this because it's an absolutely, 0.5 font here, but I had to keep changing the font to make this work. This special teams group is completely different than it was last year and has already changed in season with a group that wasn't even great to begin with. I mean, I'll read through it very quickly. But if you look at 2024 players with at least 75 special team snaps, and then the 2025 contributors that were either supposed to contribute this year or have been and were just traded, Dean Leonard's on IR, Josh Harris IR, Nick Neiman's gone in free agency, Deion Henley is not playing as much special teams. He's played like 12 special team snaps. Rick Lovato just retired. Hassan Haskins is on IR. Jasir Taylor was just traded. Jack Quarterman is gone. Laviska Shenault gone. Darius Davis was injured most of this year. Stone Smart gone. Marcus May gone. Elijah Molden injured this year. Junior Colson IR. Simi Fehoko gone. Morgan Fox gone. DiCaprio Boodle gone. Eric Tomlinson gone. Caleb Murphy, hey, bright spot. And they cut him, and he got claimed by the Patriots. So it's just, there's so much turnover with this group, and a group that really didn't need a lot of turnover. Now, some of it's not anybody's like a personnel fault. Guys just got hurt. But this is the worst punt coverage team in the NFL and the worst kickoff return team or kickoff coverage team in the NFL. They're allowing 18 yards per punt return. That's insane to me, to average almost 20 yards, 2 first downs extra per punt return. Catch it at the 30, get to the 50. Catch it at the 20, get to the 40. That's absurd. That is awful special teams. So again, my question was, why? Why did you trade John Taylor at this point in the season? Dean Leonard might be coming back. Keandre Lambert-Smith had a couple good reps on special teams last week. I don't know how he looked overall, but as a gunner, he's obviously fast. Unless Herbert's throwing him a deep ball, then he stops. So which is going to kill me. I don't get this. It just makes me frustrated and annoyed that this happened, because like you said, it's not like they traded for a 2026 7th round pick. All right, you got a 7th round pick for John Taylor. It's not guaranteed they get one for him. They're probably not going to get him. As you said, they just said, get off my team. And I just don't know why.
Yeah. I don't think we're that concerned about him as a cornerback. Like, the corner play has not been good. But he was by far their best gunner. And, people in the chat who are trying to argue that he was a bad gunner, you're lying to yourself if you think he was a bad gunner. Daniel Popper tweeted out a couple clips today. There's quite a few good reps from him as a gunner, and we've seen him completely change a game for the Chargers as a gunner. He is absolutely one of the best special teams players in the NFL right now. This does not make any sense to me. Dean Leonard is coming back. He's also a great gunner, so that helps. But hey, man, wouldn't it be nice to have 2 great gunners instead of 1? So I don't know, man. Like, Keandre Lambert-Smith, I don't know if I want him playing gunner. Like, and he's been inactive quite often. So, who do they have opposite of him? What if Dean Leonard is not ready to play this week? What if that's more of a next week thing? Because they have 21 days. There's no guarantee that he's ready to play this week. So I just don't understand. if you had told me like, hey man, they're gonna get, you know, a 2027 7th round pick outright, like, okay, sure, I guess. I'm kind of actually stunned that he was not traded to New Orleans, to be completely honest with you. Given, you know, Brandon Staley's affinity for him. But I don't understand the move here. Like the Chargers special teams players, it has been, like you mentioned, there's been so much turnover. It has not been good. So to get rid of your best gunner, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Even with Dean Leonard coming back on defense, like does this mean more Nico Reed snaps? Maybe, but I don't know if Nico Reed's role changes this much because he's not active on game days because he doesn't play special teams. So Dean Leonard's going to be activated and he's going to play special teams. And so is Nico Reed active? I don't know, man. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. Like I think with Tariq Still and Derwin James playing the slot, what kind of role is there for Nico Reed on defense? So I don't know, man. I'm not gonna like, you know, hammer Joe Ortiz and company for doing this, but it's very, you know, counterintuitive to say, hey, our special teams need some help, and then to trade your best gunner. And then a couple weeks ago, you cut Caleb Murphy, who was probably your second best special teams player. So I don't know, man. You can tell me you're reworking the special teams unit, but it's not showing up on the field. So
yeah, no, it's not. Again, I don't understand why this move was made. It's not like he's been an elite gunner. Their best special teams player in terms of like the coverage has been Marlo Wax, who I think is like 5th in the NFL in tackles. But Ja'Sir Taylor is tied with Delshon Phillips for second most tackles on the team. So there is value there. It depends on where you're looking. If you look at like NFL team rankings, he had 8 on the season. So I don't know. I got nothing for you on this one. It really is just an overall frustration for me with the way the special teams has just been churned like crazy. And I think a bit mismanaged this season because I think Nick Neiman also is top 5 in special teams tackles this year. Granted, like different position than Ja'Sir Taylor. I get that. But, you know, Thule's now playing 14 special team snaps against the Titans. Just it's I expect more from Ryan Ficken. I really do. He should be able to deal with this. He has before. The expectation is much higher for him. Primetime Ficken is probably going to do something sick, and we'll all forget about this whole darn thing. But yeah, I don't know. At the same time, I don't know what he can do if 85% of his contributors from last year or this year are on IR or are new players or are gone or are traded or are cut for no reason. There's no continuity in this group. Whereas before, it always just felt like, okay, you have Harris, Scott, Dicker, Neiman, and Ja'Sir Taylor and Dean Leonard, and that's your core, and you're great. And it just felt like for a couple of years, that was the group, and they were good. And now it's just like, we're trying to make it work. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of young players on the special teams unit too, which is potentially a problem.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to make like guys like Tyler Conklin, who's never played special teams in his life, is trying to block on kick return now, and it's not going well. So
not great.
You know, the kickoff stuff, not that I expected it to be bad, but you know, you can kind of justify it a little bit just because the new rules are so different, and you know, a lot of these teams, not just the Chargers, are having issues with it. But you know, it's the punt coverage stuff is really bad to me.
Yeah.
I guess my main takeaway from this discourse or this season of special team stuff is, man, does it pay to have a good long snapper? And J.K. Scott is way better at catching the football than I ever thought I would have to find out.
Yeah. I have asked them to, you know, replace J.K. Scott with anybody else. He's had his struggles with punts, but good golly, I mean, he saved them several times just on the Titans game alone. And I feel bad that I mean, I guess we can jump into it, but like the long snapper just retired, guys. The Chargers, the long snapper just retired.
It was so bad on tape this week. There were, I think we lowballed it on Sunday. I think there were like 6 bad snaps on Sunday.
It felt like that. When I have never in my life intentionally watched a long snapper snap before over and over again. But I mean, it is It's terrible. It is the worst special teams performance from an individual player I think I've ever seen outside of maybe like Kading in the playoffs. I mean, just awful.
That's really bad.
That is very bad. It's a special company. Like it's Travis Benjamin going backwards for a safety. It's Nick Kading in the playoffs, and it's unfortunately Rick Lovato who's now retiring. I hope all is good. Enjoy retirement. Great long career. Plenty of money made. I didn't exactly shed a tear when I heard this, although I'm hoping that means Josh Harris is close to returning.
Yeah. I think any silver lining of the special team stuff is, Josh Harris could come back. Dean Leonard could come back. Maybe they bring back Nyheim Hines and that kind of sticks around and maybe he's helped solve the kick return stuff a little bit.
Time out. Okay, let's do with that. What happened? Why did Nyheim Hines, thanks for fixing kickoff return. Anyway, there's the fucking door. Like what was the rationale for that one? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand. Keandre Lambert-Smith is so bad as a returner, man. It is so bad. And it's not his fault. I don't think he ever did it in college. The new rules again. Nyheim Hines came in right off the bat and was like, here's a 40-yard return.
Let's go win a game.
Yeah, I would like to see him come back and help continue to fix things. The Chargers they've got to kind of settle in here a little bit with the special team stuff. Harbaugh says that they're going to spend more time on it this week. That's great. I don't really know how you simulate all of that in practice. But I think, if they're going to be intentional about it and Ryan Ficken's going to get some more time to figure it out, maybe that will help. But bringing back Nyheim Hines would also be a help here. So like I mentioned, Josh Harris coming back, fantastic. Very underrated athlete as well. Somebody who can contribute and maybe help stop some of the bleeding on the punt return issues. At the very least, he will snap the ball the proper way. So hopefully things can improve, man. Like you tweeted out the graphic from, I forget who it was. Apologies there, but he's a Steelers person.
Yeah.
The Steelers lead the league in points added per play on special teams, and the Chargers are 29th. So they need primetime Ficken. They need Josh Harris. They need Dean Leonard coming back, and hopefully things can kind of turn around the back half of the season.
Yeah, definitely hope so there. So to your point on Keandre Lambert-Smith, he played 15 snaps of special teams in college in 4 years. So yeah, he played it, but not really. So yeah, Keandre Lambert-Smith, the returns are like a less physical Cam Scattaboo run. It's just like, I'm going to run into the first thing I see and I'm not making anybody miss. And Darius Davis, he's lost the juice. He's lost it. It feels
he looks so slow, man.
He looks completely different. And he's trying, there's one, I forget which return. He tries to set it up and he fakes to the right and tries to juke out the group and go back left. And just no one falls for it. And he just gets slammed in the 27. It's just gone. I don't know why he made that decision as is. Again, Hines, I don't think he's done anything special, but he just went, I'm going that way and I'm getting the best possible return. And here we are. And I hope he does come back.
Yeah, hope so. All right. Last thing, again, today's not going to be super positive, but it is what it is. Omarion Hampton's return has been, I don't know if it's necessarily been delayed, but
sure.
Jim Harbaugh said, this is from Chris Rim from his press conference on Monday. Jim Harbaugh said he doesn't think the Chargers will open the window for running back Omarion Hampton to return from IR until after the Week 12 bye. Daniel Popper reported after the Vikings game that Hampton was still in a walking boot. I was told last week that he was still in that walking boot. I have no idea what exactly happened. Nobody really is sharing much about his specific injury. But being in a walking boot still is probably not a great sign. I do not know if he is currently in a walking boot. But again, it's just really, really frustrating season of injuries. And Hampton was the biggest bright spot of, that kind of Giants, game and things like that. And, if he can come back post bye, I think that will help. It'll boost things. Obviously, I think he's a great running back.
Yeah.
But it's just again unfortunate that the injuries have continued to pile up, and now Hampton we have to wait until after the bye to see.
Yeah, that's a huge bummer. When he went down, I mean, honestly, when you watch the injury happen, it's like, okay, well, that's not great. But
yeah, like when it happened, he was still trying to work it out on the field. Like they tried to retape him. So for it to be like this, I'm curious kind of what exactly happened there.
Yeah, me too. And if anything got re-aggravated, I don't know. On top of this too, I guess, is what they didn't do, which was trade for a running back, which really is what I thought they would end up doing, especially as this continues to progress and progress. Now, at this point, they only have 2 more games until the bye. So it's not like we are looking at 8 more games. It's not when he first got hurt and it's, oh God, we have to try to get to the bye.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised, I guess, they didn't add somebody. I suppose that their pick that they might have used for that player, that running back, went to Penning. I didn't realize you could trade 2028 7th round conditional picks. So I thought maybe that could be like a Jerome Ford or something. But yeah, this is a bummer as is. It does not help you at all the next couple of weeks. I don't even know what kind of team Hampton returns to. Are they one that has split the next couple of weeks? Are they 0-2 the next couple of weeks? I don't know. But so the discussion was he doesn't think they will open the window until after the week 12 bye.
Yeah.
But this is clearly, I think, not anybody saying he will return after the week 12 bye. This is we'll start considering it after that week 12 bye.
Yeah, I mean, nobody has come out and said that this is season ending. I think if that were the case, we would have heard about it by now. But so he's missed 4 games already. So theoretically, he could have returned this week. And initial reporting from Schefter and Rappaport was that, hey, maybe he just, it's 4 weeks, he comes back. And then Rappaport was like, well, maybe this is longer than that. And Jim Harbaugh obviously comes out and says, this is a post-bye week situation. So that would be 6 games missed if he does return after the bye. So, maybe that gives him a full, window to rest up and things like that. So they have 5 games after the bye, right?
They're 6-3. So if they 2 games, let's say they're 8-3, 11 games. So they have 6 games.
6 games after the bye. Okay. So, if he comes back after the bye, I think he can, be able to have like a full recovery, stuff like that. So obviously the Chargers have gotten way more out of Kamani Vidal than any of us would have thought, including Alex Insdorf. But I am definitely surprised they did not make a move for a running back. They only have Vidal on the active roster right now. They don't even have a second one on the roster. So maybe there's somebody who gets cut from all of these trades that they can go pick up from a waiver standpoint or free agency signing, stuff like that. I thought Patterson looked okay on Sunday. But they definitely need kind of like a bigger back, with how they want to run the offense a little bit. Maybe that's Amar Johnson. Maybe he gets some touches over the next couple of weeks. So I think the Chargers are okay for another 2 games. But obviously, it would be way better if Hampton were out here.
Yeah. So hopefully it is after the bye, and they are at worst 6-5, and then they go make that playoff push and win a few games. But yeah, just a bummer. It just was finding his stride, looked so good, and then for it to continue to be another week. I'm not sure until after the bye. I just feel like I don't know. I'm optimistic that he does return after the bye, but there's no sign that he is just suddenly going to.
Yeah. I think if it were season ending, we would know about it. But, I guess we could always be proven wrong there.
Why not? What else do you want to do? Smite me, oh mighty smiter. I mean, somebody throw whatever.
Great Bruce Almighty reference.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if you'd get it. Yes. Thank you.
That is one of the most underrated comedy movies of my childhood. I love that movie so much. That
movie's very funny. Good
shout out Jim Carrey, man. Made some classics. All right. Overall, before we get to some super chats, I think the Chargers did okay today. Obviously, we would have loved a bigger move here. But I think what a lot of the under-discussed discourse around there on social media is that the Chargers only had 5 picks for next year's draft and about like $2 million in cap space. So there's been a lot of stuff about like, oh, where did the Chargers cap space? It cost them like $8 million of cap space to acquire Odafe Oweh. And that trade has gone out great. Like, he's been awesome. That's another player who I could probably spend 20 minutes talking about today.
Yeah.
So it was never going to be in the cards for them to go out and, acquire an expensive offensive lineman. Like, there was some minor buzz over the weekend that maybe Cesar Ruiz could be traded. That contract is such a mess. Maybe that's an offseason thing for the Chargers. I don't know. They were never going to be able to acquire an expensive offensive lineman. Like, it was always going to be, a cheap backup, rookie contract player. And, we'll see about Trevor Penning, man. I think the Chargers feel like they can develop offensive linemen. I know that, but that has not really panned out so far. Hopefully this is the one that hits.
Yeah, I hope so. At the end of the day, did they trade for an elite player at any point this season? No, at least in terms of the offensive player. Maybe Oweh ends up being that guy. But I can at least appreciate that in 2 separate times, in response to 2 separate injuries, Joe Ortiz went and got someone.
Yeah.
You can talk about the results of that, but the process of finding players that are available and getting them for basically dirt cheap, I can appreciate that. If this were Tom Telesco, you would be watching Steven out there on the offensive line. And I would be on there with just these giant shoulder pads that don't fit and a huge all helmet and a whole like grilled face mask and like Bane or something, just out there waddling out and trying to play offensive line, and it just would not work out. The fact that they actually did try to go at separate occasions, get a lineman, I can appreciate that. I hope it works out. The important thing is they keep taking swings at this. They keep taking stabs at it, and maybe it works out. If nothing else, Trevor Penning picking up 13 penalties a game will at least be amusing to me.
If there's ever a Nathan Shepard repeat, Trevor Penning is going to kick someone's ass. We know that.
Oh, yeah. No. Hey, listen. Oh, no. Don't say that because they're going to sign him to a 2-year deal next year.
Under Tom Telesco, like, how many times did we see like Michael Schofield come back, or like the year where Ryan Groy started like 8 games for them. And obviously, stuff like that just happened constantly. So Joe Ortiz deserves a lot of credit for being able to have the gall to go out there and trade for people and being able to make these acquisitions. And making a trade is not just like, hey, send me X player. Like, I will say from the information, the Chargers called several teams about offensive linemen over the weekend. So this was not just like they targeted one specific player. They targeted several, and then Penning is the one that they chose. So Joe Ortiz has shown time and time again, we have a problem at backup quarterback. I'm going to go trade for Taylor Heineke. We have a problem at safety. I'm going to go trade for Elijah Molden. Problem at offensive tackle. Austin Deculus comes in. Problem at offensive tackle again. Trevor Penning. Problem at edge rusher. Here's Odafe Oweh. Not everything is going to be a home run, but they are going to take swings and acquire talent whenever they are able to. Obviously, you have cap constraints and pick constraints and stuff like that. But I know that there are a lot of critics out there for Joe Ortiz, but I give him a ton of credit for going out there and being active on the trade market when we have seen 11 years prior where that is not the case. So Joe Ortiz is going to continue to be active. And again, you bet your ass he is going to trade down next April as much as he possibly can. They will not pick 5 times. They will pick way more times than that. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the case. And it's also just these moves in general help me feel better about, let's say the Chargers are healthy and great, like even the same record, but next year they're healthy, they're on a roll, and they're approaching the trade deadline. I feel confident that Ortiz would make that move. That'd be a more positive, bigger move if needed, if you felt the team could use it. It's not like all this GM speak that Tom Telesco, we poked around and we looked at some stuff, but ultimately, like, I suck, so I didn't do anything. Like Joe Ortiz will actually go, no, I'll get it done. You can argue that maybe it could have been more or the player, but they did something. As you mentioned, a quarterback, an edge rusher, a safety, a tackle, another tackle, trading away Jaw Taylor for whatever reason. Like, they will be active, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, Tom Telesco poking around was just him calling his friends in Indianapolis saying like, "Hey, you want to trade me X player?" Joe Ortiz has no direct ties to anybody that I know of in New Orleans or the new New York regime or Texans regime. Like, obviously, those guys in the circuit, they kind of know each other, but there were no, like he made the trade with the Ravens. Obviously, I'm sure that was a lot of Harbaugh, related as well. But Ortiz is not afraid to call anybody who will listen and trade people. So I'm happy with that. And like you mentioned, maybe next year there's a, their version of Roquan Smith or something like that they can go out there and figure out. And, hopefully that's the case next spring.
Yes.
All right. Let's get to some super chats before we head out. Mr. Dark Chow Chow, always starting us off. I appreciate him jumping here early. Penning was a first rounder for a reason. Dude's got talent.
He definitely had talent.
That is a little mean.
He definitely has talent.
Yeah. I think, with his pre-draft process, right? Like he was an athletic freak.
Yeah.
Played Senior Bowl. I didn't like his, Northern Iowa tape, but I understood why there was like some mild hype around him. I was picturing like a day 2 player though, and then he went 20th, 19th. Okay. So, is what it is. Yeah. Steven Sullivan says, "Dang, I had just bet $100 on Steelers to cover." That's some emotional hedging like there for sure. Definitely, I understand that a little bit. I don't even know what the line is right now. We haven't really started our Steelers prep yet, but I don't know. Right now, I'm still so annoyed at Joe Alt being out for the season. I'll get to the Steelers at some point.
Yeah, gee, what are we going to talk about for keeping us up at night on Thursday? I can't think.
I wonder what.
I wonder what that might end up being.
Yeah. JLM wants to know, should they hire Bill Callahan as the O-line coach in the offseason? Watching the footwork of the O-line seems like they are not fundamentally sound.
I feel as if the injuries along the offensive line and to the offense are actually going to be an excuse to keep their existing coaching staff.
Yeah, I agree. Bill Callahan is rather old. There were some rumors that he was going to retire, and then Brian Callahan got the Titans job. So as the O-line coach, I don't know if he wants to do that, but they should at least explore hiring him as like a consultant. Mm-hmm. Jim Harbaugh worked for him when Bill Callahan was the head coach of the Raiders. Mm-hmm. So there is some ties there. I don't know if Bill Callahan wants to be like a full-time offensive line coach. Like he could have stuck on the Titans. I know it's like would be weird to work for the ownership who just fired your son. Yeah. But if he really wanted to keep coaching, he could have. But I don't know. I think they should explore other offensive line coaches. But like you mentioned, I think, hey man, like you lose your 2 tackles. Becton's been in and out of the lineup. That is objectively tough for any offensive line coach to overcome, although there are other offensive line coaches who are doing more with the similar situations.
Yeah. So I think the group runs it back. And with the group running it back, I think that means some players are run back too. But we'll see.
Yeah. Long time to go there. But we'll see. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, what would have been better, Evan Neal or Trevor Penning? I probably would have preferred Neal just because he's a bit more of a guard, honestly. I think Foster Sorrell at right guard is a major, major problem. So I probably would have preferred Evan Neal, but I was told the Chargers had zero interest in trading for Evan Neal.
Any indication as to why? Personal?
I think there's some off the field stuff with why Evan Neal, like he's not even active on the roster. Like the Giants don't even want him on the team. And Josina Anderson tweeted out that there was like no interest in him. So I think there's some off the field stuff there going on.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me either. Great, pretty good NFL prospect, but boy, some of that stuff has just seemed to, the stuff you don't know about seems to rear its head.
Yeah. Cruiser 688 says just put Trevor Penning at fullback, Scott Matlock at LT, Tucker Fisk at right tackle, and give the guy Brazilian food. Problem solved. Hashtag Super Bowl run.
Super Bowl runs, if you mean that.
Missed opportunity, Cruiser, to finish that one off strong.
Scott left tackle. Guys, first off, of all the shorts that got views, almost 100,000 for the Scott Matlock touchdown is the dumbest outcome. Like nothing else but Scott Matlock got.
When you posted that, I was like, "That's not going to do well."
My computer froze. I was like, "Oops! Well, I might as well post this for funsies." It's like, "Wow, here's your second most viewed short ever." If you want more Scott Matlock content, I guess you're going to get it this week.
Yeah,
but Fiskett, yeah, I don't know. They're just. Yeah, 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, or offensive linemen, you name it. Go for it.
Yeah, more heavy bodies out there, I think, is what you need going forward. Mr. Dark Chow Chow, why was Joe Alt's ankle injury season ending, though? So I talked to one of my neighbors who's what's the foot doctor called? Podiatrist, right? Not a pediatrician. That's the kid doctor. A podiatrist.
Sure.
I asked him about this, and he said that sometimes when you have a re-injury from a high ankle sprain, that if an athlete requires surgery, it means that there's like a lot of ligament damage that needs to be cleaned up because you're so like he sprained his ankle against the Giants in week 4, and then he comes back 4 weeks later. It's still your ankle is still relatively fresh in terms of the injury.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you re-aggravate it, you kind of like tear the ligaments in your ankle. So that's probably why.
Yeah, not great there. So hopefully, I can't believe. I guess I'd have to ask someone who knows, what the recovery timetable for what this could be. Although we don't officially know what it is in terms of like severity. Well, bad enough to miss the season, but I can't believe we're going to head into free agency. I would imagine with some concerns with both offensive tackles. Slater not even returning till summer camp next year, and Alt should be fine, but we're in November.
I don't think this would be like, I would expect him to be back for OTAs. Like this is not an ACL situation that I know of. But if the Chargers made the Super Bowl, maybe Alt could come back for that because that's in February. That's 4 months from now, but I think he should be fine. But he's not back for the season again. Maybe the Super Bowl if the Chargers get there.
There's your optimism. Take that, haters.
There you go. There you go. Jonah, can you spend 20 minutes talking about Jamari Caldwell as was stated earlier? Absolutely, man. Jamari Caldwell is awesome. Like he is so much fun to watch. I tweeted out a couple clips. There was the one Wildcat formation. Is that my phone vibrating? It is. Yes. Okay. Sorry. There was the Wildcat formation. Sorry, it was Brooke calling me. Okay. So the Titans go into Wildcat on 3rd and 1, which I still can't believe they did. On the Wildcat formation, Pollard runs kind of like a sweep to the right side, and Jamari Caldwell ends up running from the 4-eye on the right side of the defense, left side of the offense. And he's ultimately the one to get all the way across to the sideline to prevent Tony Pollard from getting the first down. Obviously, there was a holding penalty on Khalil Mack, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But Caldwell just books it, and he's able to get there. The next drive, he stands up Lloyd Cushenberry just with like 2 yards back into the backfield, sets the line of scrimmage, sheds him, tackles Tyjae Spears, tackle for loss. There was the play at the goal line before the goal line stand where he is one arm against the left guard. I forget his name, but again, 1 yard in the backfield. He's holding the center with his left hand, Lloyd Cushenberry, and that allows Denzel Perryman to get over the top to tackle Pollard at that instance.
Yep.
Jamari Caldwell is already a very positive run defender. Like he is setting the line of scrimmage. He stacks and sheds like nobody's business. Like you watch his tape and then you watch the little videos that they post of them doing drills. And it's teach tape. He stacks, he sheds, he peeks, he does all of the stuff. He's giving you about a pressure a game as well. So it's not like amazing as a pass rusher, but he's a very reliable starter right now. And it's, you liked him more than I did. I don't think you pictured this right away either. And I certainly did not. I pictured like, hey, maybe 10 snaps a game, shows you some flashes of run defender, things like that. But he's actively a very good run defender. So there are problems with the Chargers run defense, but their defensive tackles, when Tart and Caldwell are on the field, it is not a problem. Like those two together are very disruptive. And I've just been so happy with Caldwell, man. Like I love watching him on tape. I would tweet about him more often if people like cared about the nose tackle making plays. But he's very good, very reliable, and I've been very pleased with him so far.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Him and Tart together are just an absolute force out there. I need Tart to stick around as well.
Yes.
Both of them
100% extension as soon as possible.
Yes, he's earned it. It's now multiple years. It's not necessarily a one-year wonder. You've seen him now through several years.
Yeah,
keep him around. Please don't do this thing where you're moving on from another player and trying to figure this out. Granted, they keep doing it and it works. So Mike Elston, do your thing, dude. But I'd like to see Tart stick around because that duo in particular is just so good.
Yeah.
With Caldwell, I liked him, but the part with him was, in Houston, he's doing some like edge rusher stuff at 300 whatever, and then or a little lighter actually. But then with the Oregon, I wasn't really sure what the fit was. Where is he going to play? He's mentioned maybe like coming in like, oh, I'm more of like a 3-tech, or I can do this or I can do that. So it's a bit of like, what's the fit for a guy who should be a nose, but is really freaky athletic, but has been moved all over the place. To your point, every single rep just feels like teach tape. It just feels like it's the way you practice it. And that's so impressive for a 3rd-round pick who's been moved around, who has had to change his own weight in 2 different college programs. For him to come in and just control the line of scrimmage like a veteran is just awesome. So is he an all-pro player, Pro Bowl player? No, and his position, he'll probably never be that kind of guy, I think. But what he does in the field, he's so good.
I think just from a long-term view from the defensive tackle perspective, man, like Eboigbe's starting to flash as a pass rusher. His run defense tape is still a little bit concerning, but he can give you some good moments as a pass rusher. Caldwell, Tart, very disruptive. If you can drop in like a 1st-round defensive tackle pass rusher with that group next year, the defensive tackle room goes from like, hey, Mike Elston works some magic to like, this is a real strength of the football team. So I feel really good about the long-term future with that trio, and we'll see about how they kind of round out the group next week, next year and things like that. Naquan Jones has been a lot more positive than I thought. So they know how to identify talent and how to give Mike Elston what he wants. Hopefully Mike Elston can stick around for a long time. So I'm just so pleased with the defensive tackle room. Like Caldwell and Tart make 3 or 4 plays a game that get me excited about those two, and the run defense is just really special for them right now.
Yeah, they're awesome. And it's a great point by you. Like they identify what works for them. And Eboigbe, day 3 pick, 4th-round pick, but it took a little bit longer, but you are seeing the progression of this player.
Yeah.
Wasn't much in year 1, has progressed in year 2. I mean, who knows what year 3 and year 4 can bring for him, for this entire group playing together. I think Elston does stick around, although I wouldn't, hey, if someone wants to poach him, I get it. He's freaking awesome. Or if he follows Minter, which I don't think is happening, but you never know.
Yeah.
But he's been great. He's been awesome. I would kill. Like, if center this, guard, tackle, whatever that. If they do D tackle 1st round, or even like heck, even the 2nd round, which would be the biggest investment they've given to Minter in this group, I'd be all for it. Because like that Rams front has just like, here's a 2nd rounder, here's a guy, here's a guy, here's a guy, here's a guy. That Rams front, if you now go with, if Eboigbe takes a step forward, even right now, like you're watching, there's a 3rd down they have, and it's Owe, Eboigbe, Thule, Mack, and then line up Dayon and Derwin, and I think like Dayon drops or Derwin drops or whatever it is. On that 3rd down, they're having, I think it was St. Just and Jackson on that one, press on the outside, and that throws off the whole timing of the receiver, and the rush just goes. You get another 1st or 2nd round defensive tackle who can rush the passer in there with those guys returning and playing maybe some more press. Good God, next year could be so much fun for the defense.
There's a lot of fun things happening with Eboigbe and Thule in the middle. Like the two of them really work off each other well, and
Yeah.
Eboigbe is low-key like really good as a picker. So like
Yeah.
he will crush somebody. Like he's gonna run right at them and crush them. And his first sack was off of that. This week on the play where Owe spins, Eboigbe was like right there in the same situation. So he is on against the right guard and picks the center and then is able to kind of work his way back in. So if Owe had not been there, Eboigbe probably gets a sack there too. So there's limitations in his game as a run defender just because I think like he's not used to that kind of role and physicality in the middle, and like he can get washed out on a double team. He doesn't really have that anchor just quite yet. But as a pass rusher, like there's a lot of fun things happening with him too. So it's just really, really encouraging that the middle of the defense has looked so good, in terms of developing talent. So would love to see them get a blue chipper in there, like next year's version of Walter Nolan. Like how incredible did he look last night for the Cardinals? Like that with this trio next year would be incredible.
Yeah, it really would be. I thought, and it's not that they played. I mean, listen, they played banged up Carson Wentz and they played, Cam Ward, but the defense has looked better. I think they are kind of rounding more into form, especially with if Owe looks like that and he's able to rush the passer with the couple of reps that he had. It's just looking a little bit better. I thought Perryman and Molden played better, and at least in terms of like the best game they've had in a minute. Perryman, I mean, yeah, sure, I'll say it. Like the Henley tape wasn't great. Yes, I acknowledge what was going on in his life, but it's been a rough season since about week 2. But Perryman is like dropping to the right spots. He's playing the run better. Clearly, we saw at the goal line like Perryman do certain things. Molden was just better himself, more physical. It's nice to see the Minter defense express itself a bit more the way it should, because we've been saying like, yeah, the run defense isn't great. Yes, there's edge rusher stuff, D tackle stuff, whatever, but the linebackers and safeties are really kind of the problem. It's not the corners, usually not the D tackles overall, TBD on the edge rushers, but not always. It's the linebackers and the safeties. And for the linebacker and safety in this game to play better, I mean, voila, I think the defense was better overall. And I know they agree because both Molden and Perryman liked that tweet. So I think they're feeling good about it too.
Yeah. Perryman missed a couple of tackles, couple chances for tackles for loss, but it looked like usual Denzel Perryman where he's just going to run around and try and hit as many people as possible, which is good. Every team needs a little henchman who can go and just hit people. And that's Denzel Perryman for this defense.
Yeah.
I will say with Dayon, the passing stuff looked like usual Dayon to me.
Yes.
His pass breakup was an incredible play where he's dropping to the hook to his left and then comes back to the right on the over, reaches his hand up. That was an incredible pass breakup. The sack, obviously, incredible moment. So I was a little bit more encouraged from a passing perspective about Dayon's tape. There were definitely some concerning run fits, but it's very difficult to like properly fit the run when your brother died 2 days ago. So athletically, he looked like himself again, which is very good news for the Chargers. And hopefully, as he continues to grieve and things like that, he can kind of use football as his outlet, which I think is his thing right now.
Yeah, please go hit Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Cruiser 688 wants to know, Juan Asante return now that he's been cleared. No, I think the Chargers are good at corner, and the Chargers also would not want an Asante reunion either.
Now, it was a weird situation last year as is, and they're pretty set for now. I don't even think with an injury or two they would give Asante a call, but I'm glad he's at least mended on the mend and in the right direction.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Jesse Minter. He's the one coach on the Chargers who will tell the truth at the podium. He loves this cornerback room. Like they genuinely feel like they have 4 starting caliber corners with Tarheeb, Dante, Cam Hart, and Benjamin St-Juste. And to his credit, all 4 of them have shown really positive moments throughout the season. Dante Jackson, I thought, was good again this week, although the Titans did not take advantage of some of his weaknesses in terms of passing off coverages. Cam Hart had some good moments, and Tarheeb should be coming back sometime soon. Probably not this week. The initial reporting was 2 to 4 weeks, so we'll see what happens there. But he loves Nico Reed too, so I think if anything else happens, he would just gladly put Nico Reed on the outside, and the Asante fit with the Jim Harbaugh, Jesse Minter defense was never really going to be like a long-term thing, in my opinion. I'm very happy for him that he was cleared. Dealing with a spinal injury that's not good as a football player. So
no,
happy for him. I think there are a couple, connections. Derek Ansley's in Green Bay. Their cornerback room is kind of a mess. So that would make sense to me. Obviously, Brandon Staley loves him. I don't know their cornerback situation, but I know they have like Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alontae Taylor. So maybe nothing there, but I hope he gets around, and I hope he can stick and have a longer career than just the 4 years, because very talented player, remarkable ball skills, but just not a fit for what the Chargers want at corner.
Yeah, like that's perfectly said. It's not a fit. You look at the corners they have, and they don't look like Asante Samuel Jr., nor do they play like him.
No, unfortunately not. J-Nut says, happy for Penning as a UNI fan. Really happy Brees isn't a Chief. Yeah, very happy Brees Hall is not a Kansas City Chief.
Jesus.
J-Nut is ill. So wish, hoping you get well soon, buddy. Says going back to bed soon after this. But I am very glad that the Chiefs, the Bills, the Patriots, that group did not make any big trades. So that's fun. The Colts obviously swung huge for Sauce Gardner. But I am very happy the Chiefs did not acquire any. But there were rumors that they were in on Jalen Phillips, and they were in on Jermaine Johnson and Brees Hall. And I'm like, that would suck so bad for any of those. So very glad that they just decided to stand pat.
Yeah, I was getting worried that the Broncos would be a team to just take that.
There were some Jalen Waddle rumors around there.
Dude, I would have died. Bo Nix still would have missed him, but I would have been really bummed.
I was listening to the Athletic Football Show about their recap, and Bo Nix is like the least accurate deep ball thrower in the NFL right now. Like it's an issue. So yeah. If they had traded for Jalen Waddle, or they didn't need Jalen Phillips, right? But like, if they had gotten like Kyle Duggar or something like that, that would have pissed me off. So I'm glad that those two teams decided to do nothing.
Where did Rashid go again?
Shaheed is in Seattle.
That's right. That's fun. Like him.
That's a fun one.
Quinn and Williams to the Cowboys. Like, I don't care. You're in the NFC. Go do your thing. I don't mind that.
Yeah. Michael Flores wants to know if we think Quentin Johnston can return kicks. Can't remember if they tried that his rookie year or not. I don't believe so. They have tried to do it a couple of times in practice.
Yeah.
But never actually in a game, I don't believe.
I don't want to say definitely not a game or a preseason game. Punt return, maybe. But I don't recall a kickoff return. But at this point, no. Please do not. I think he is still a very important part of this offense. He's getting back into form, back to where he started the season. So no, I can stomach Keandre Lambert-Smith returning kicks to not get Quentin Johnston murdered by Tyler Conklin.
Yeah, 0 special team snaps in his career. So
there you go.
I wonder if that's preseason. Maybe did he take any?
Maybe.
And no, 0 preseason snap, 0 special team snaps in the preseason. So I at training camp last year, they tried to work him as a kick returner.
That sounds great.
But he was like the 6th person in line. So it's like one of those things like, hey, like, let's see what you can do as a kick returner. Just maybe this works. But no, he's been so much better than what he was last year. Like the back shoulder fade week was beautiful. His ESPN open score is great. I tweeted this earlier, but he's 8th in the league in contested catch percentage. So there are still a lot of people who want Quentin Johnston off the team. People wanted them to just trade him for no reason, apparently. But he's a good player, man. And Justin Herbert trusts him tremendously. And the team loves him. And, I think at some point you and I probably should have like the 5th-year option conversation about him. But he's been really good for this team outside of last week when he had 0 targets. But other than that, like he's been really, really good, you guys.
Yeah, he has. And again, another step forward. Does anyone want to doubt he can take another step forward next year? I'm not going to doubt him because he's continued to do that and he continues to build the chemistry. I thought the throw from Herbert to him in the end zone was hilarious because Herbert just goes, okay, I'm going to throw it to that guy. And the corner basically just like, he's going to throw it right here, isn't he?
The corner played it perfectly, man.
He played it perfectly. The corner 10 yards away from Quentin Johnson's like, all right, backpedal. All right, here we go. He's going to throw it. And oh, fuck, he just scored. I mean, that throw is so like, it's such a bullshit.
It's so good.
Throw. It's so good from Herbert because he just stares down his receiver. The corner's looking at Herbert going, okay, so he's going to go right here. All right. Touchdown. What? It's the audacity to throw that football is hilarious, but it was so good.
So good. It was so good. Herbert made a few throws in the second half that were just incredible. Yeah, Quentin's really good. I don't think he's like amazing right now, but you know, raise your hand if you thought Quentin Johnson was going to lead the team in contested catches, at least percentage wise, you know, in year 3. I certainly did not.
Nope.
So that part has been added to his game. You know, there's been, I think, 2 drops, but his drop percentage is at like 5% right now. So that's been very good. You know, you still see some of the yak stuff every once in a while. So it's the wide receiver room in general, I think right now is really complementing each other very well. At some point we're going to have to figure out and they're going to have to figure out, you know, Keenan Allen's long-term fit here, or do you kind of hand that role over to Trey Harris? But right now, those 4 receivers, Anaronde Gadsden, the roles all make perfect sense to me. Yep. It looks great on tape. I'm sure if you have them in fantasy, it probably sucks a little bit. But the 5 of them, it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, it has. Just please give me more Trey Harris.
Brian Plant with a super sticker here. Appreciate that. Dinesh Vora says, agree on the mood. I've never been so positive about making to the Super Bowl given the balance, health, talent they had heading into camp, but things started falling. I'm a believer team is cursed as they always have obstacles.
Yeah, you and I, Steven and I didn't feel like this was a Super Bowl team, but we felt, all right, step 2, get to the playoffs, win a playoff game or 2. And then next year, here we go. You've got the pieces. And I mean, just cursed from July 4th on. I mean, the 4th of July fireworks incident on, it has just been hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. So just some players that you never thought would get hurt. I mean, Najee, like we said it a million times, Harris, Hampton, Joe Alta freak of nature. Psych, here's your 2, ankle injuries, one of them being season ending.
Yeah.
Freak accident in practice, this and that. It's just, it feels like cursed this year. When the players that never get hurt are all getting hurt, it's cursed.
Yeah. Sometimes there's just a year from hell with injuries, and that kind of
is every year.
Last year they were pretty healthy. You know, there were some minor things here and there. Obviously, Herbert dealt with some of his foot issues, but for the most part, like they were pretty healthy last year. 2023 was a lot of injuries. 2022 was a mild amount of injuries. 2021 they were very healthy. So every once in a while, just football can be really cruel, and the Chargers are certainly feeling that right now. And appreciate Dinesh for a big super chat here, by the way.
Yeah, super nice super chat. Yeah, everything there are injuries. There are injuries unless you're the Denver Broncos offense, in which case you played 4,000 snaps together the last 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, the Chiefs have played to the Super Bowl every single year, and they like barely ever deal with any injuries on offense. Their defense has dealt with some injuries here and there.
Yeah,
but I feel like outside of the Super Bowl year where they lost to the Buccaneers, like their main core, like they all stay healthy. So I don't know what it is. I would love to go like ask Andy Reid what his secret sauce is there, but the Chargers, just for whatever reason, like again, not that I expected a Super Bowl this year, but like in a year where they finally feel like, let's take a leap forward in legitimacy. Let's, win a couple playoff games. Everybody's injured. So it's really frustrating.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Colin Camp. Anyway, we see Branson Taylor
at McDonald's, maybe, but otherwise, like, I don't think you're going to see him.
Yeah. If they wanted the old regime, they would be starting Branson Taylor right now. He would have been on the 53. And probably starting instead of Austin Deculus after Joel gets injured. So I think, they're essentially viewing this as a redshirt season on the practice squad, and maybe next year he can show you some flashes in the preseason. But yeah, whenever you have a rookie offensive lineman that you're trying to shift positions in the middle of training camp, that's never a good sign.
We always thought he was a natural tackle. I was like, oh yeah, this guy's screwed.
Yeah, no, that's never a good sign. That's never a good sign.
No, not at all.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man says re-sign Tart, Mac, and Oweh. They fit so well with us. It's going to cost them a pretty penny to do that, but I do tend to agree. All three of those players look really good right now.
Yeah, difficult with the way they look to deny at least all three of, I don't know, one of them or two of them. I think you got to bring back Tart. It won't be super expensive. I think you're looking more than the Puna Ford deal, but certainly no, Quinn and Williams deal.
Yeah.
Mac, kind of just copy paste, generally the same deal. Always a tricky one, because the good news is he's playing great for the Chargers and he's racked up 4 sacks in 4 games. The bad news is he could get to 10 by the end of the season, and that makes him expensive.
Yeah. I mean, the edge rusher contracts are getting crazier and crazier by the day. So that's good for the Chargers, like comp pick thing, but like,
yeah,
George Karlaftis is making $22 million a year. Like that's, Greg Rousseau 20, Josh Sweat 19, although he looks, pretty good. Bryce Huff was at 17. So there's Dio Odangbo was at 16 million a year for the Bears. So there's a chance that Odafe Oweh, if he keeps this up, his first round pedigree, you're looking at like over $20 million per year for him. So it's probably like 15, 16-ish for Khalil, 9 to 11-ish for Tart, and then Oweh's probably pushing 20. So should the Chargers do that? I love watching Odafe Oweh with this group, but he's more of a DPR type for the Chargers. Khalil obviously could decide to retire next year, although I kind of doubt it. But is it worth it to pay $20 million to a rotational edge rusher? Maybe.
Probably. Probably.
Yeah. And Thule is extension eligible also. But
yeah.
They can make it work because you're probably giving Khalil another 1-year contract, and you can work the cap hit so always not like super expensive in year 1.
Right.
Same thing for Thule, but that's a very expensive edge rusher room.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But I guess I don't really mind. And so they certainly haven't minded before with Bosa and Mac and technically Dupree.
Yeah.
Thule on a rookie contract. So they don't mind in that investment.
Yeah. Uncle Kev wants to know, are we getting Ryan Matthews vibes from Omarion? Y'all are great. Thank you for your work. We appreciate that. I'm not sure quite what this question means.
Injuries.
Like, is this an injury thing?
Made a glass. Yeah, I'm assuming that's a made a glass comment, which it's just too early. I don't know what Matthews' injury history was in college, but Hampton didn't have any. So, no, not yet. I get Ryan Matthews vibes from like Rashawn Slater, but although the Matthews was never the tackle kind of level of player that Slater is at tackle, but yeah, I don't know if I get those vibes from Hampton just yet.
So Matthews played in 12 games as a rookie, and then 14, 12, 14, and then 6 his last year in San Diego.
I honestly thought it was worse. I'm curious what the snap count was in terms of like, did he come out of a lot of games? I don't know. I remember being worse, to be honest.
Yeah. A lot of the Ryan Matthews stuff was like soft tissue. It wasn't like, he didn't really ever like have a major injury, right? Like it was always like minor stuff.
Yeah, if he played that many games, I don't think he had clearly not a major injury, at least not to the end of the year.
Yeah, Omarion's injury was like a major freak accident. Like him and was it Luvu? Yeah, Frankie Luvu just kind of like collided, and it just must have hit Omarion at like the right spot. So it's way too early in Omarion's career to say that he's injury prone. Like, unfortunately, you kind of need a few injuries to be injury prone.
Yeah.
But Omarion's also like way better than Matthews ever was.
Yeah, he's going to be special. Just get him on the field.
Yes. All right. That is going to do it for us today. We are going to be back on Thursday for our Steelers preview. I've said this a couple of times, but I will be at the game on Sunday. So we'll see who is playing left tackle that I get to watch. But Brooke and I will be there in section 230. So feel free and come say hello. And I'll say that again on Thursday. But football games are fun to attend regardless, right? Like we went to the Chiefs game last year where Slater and Alt didn't play. We also went to the Jaguars game the week after Herbert broke his ribs. That one was not fun. That was not a good time. So, sometimes it's just kind of what you get being a fan, but we will be there. So feel free to come say hello. And yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff does genuinely help continue to grow our show. We appreciate the heck out of you guys. We'll see you on Thursday. Bolt up.